All right. I'm ready to fight you. Okay. So we are going to start. We're just going to go through. All right. So Witch's Ritual, Crown of Sorrow, the first encounter.
That's
That's
the
terrible.
intro. Yeah, that's bad. It's
That
fucking
is a
bad.
shitty. That is a shitty encounter. Why? Because there's no way to make it faster, and like, yeah, it puts a little bit of pressure on you because you've got to outlast. And that was back before like there was reliable ways in order to get heavy ammo. So if you were out of ammo, um, and yeah, those I think what were was it ogres that spawned? I
At
think it
the
was
end.
ogres that spawned. Well, yeah, well they spawned and you had to like swap the polarity, right? That was the whole mechanic of the thing. Was essentially that's all you're doing is you're swapping polarities. You were either cursed or you weren't cursed. Um, and so like I still like the regular check-in. I liked that mechanic, but that mechanic is better executed throughout the rest of the raids. So like I'm not even going to count that as a part of this. I think that
Yeah, that's
it's
an F.
pretty widely known that the Witch's Ritual, the first encounter, dog shit. Fucking
Yeah.
sucked. Galran's Deception. That one, I would go ahead and say that's B tier. I remember it being a little bit difficult, it being a little bit.
That was a lot of ad clear. Yeah, that
It
was
was a
pretty good because it
ad
required
clear.
a lot of movement. I did like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of movement, a lot of coordination.
I
That's
don't
where
know if
you
I
really
put it
start
at
learning.
B though.
I don't think it was bad. I think it was good. The only thing that's like keeping it. I mean, I could put it in C tier because honestly, I don't really remember. It's been so
Yeah,
long
let's
since I
start
played
to
Crown,
C because
but
I feel like there's better mechanics as far as movement and
yeah.
team play.
But I do think the
Yes.
Galran fight is a B.
Yeah,
Maybe
absolutely. I
A.
was gonna say I kind of like that one a lot. That required a lot of communication and
Yeah.
teamwork. I would put that
And the
one
fact that
honestly
like there
A.
was a core mechanic of like forcing the boss to kill his own minions.
Yeah,
Pretty cool. Pretty
yeah.
cool. And even after the fact that they nerfed, justifiably so, the auto reloading and stuff like Outbreak Prime was great for it. Grenade launchers, that
Ace.
was grenade launcher at its
That was
prime.
full court, baby. Yeah.
Full court,
Inter.
dude.
What is that? Interference with clown full court.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go.
Mm-hmm. So good. So yeah, I think Galrun. I think and like yeah, that boss fight could go pretty sour pretty fast. I'm personally a
I
fan
like
of
that
boss
though.
fights that
Yeah.
I like. Well, sometimes I think that there's a distinction. I think that certain raid encounters can fork where it's like you mess something up early, there's no point to scramble back.
Yeah.
The end boss of Garden of Salvation. I think that encounter is too tightly timed, whereas other ones like the boss for Scourge of the Past, Insurrection Prime, that one was one where you could fuck it up, but then you could
You
scramble
could
back.
recover.
And
Yeah.
those ones where you can recover with concerted effort, I think those are the best tuned boss fights, right? I want the drama, I want the struggle.
Yeah.
So I think Galran straddles that line because if you're not swapping those buffs early, you're just straight fucked. You just can't do anything about it. So, Crypt Security. I
A.
also think this one, yeah, I was
A.
gonna say B or A, um, because it throws you right into certain mechanics, the mechanics of communicating. Um,
I
I feel
liked
like
that it was very, very teamwork heavy. Very teamwork heavy while throwing a just massive ads at you.
I'm gonna put it at B tier, and
Okay.
here's why. I still really like it, and I'm gonna put it below Galran. Um, but here's the reason why I think it is team. It does require team play, but it really only requires 3 people, right? You've got the person running down below, you got the
True.
person up on dark
Okay.
side and light side, and then everyone else is clearing ads. Clearing ads is a valid part of a raid experience. I'm not going to deny that whatsoever. However, if there was something else for them to do, right?
Yeah.
Because if you have got really good ad clear, if you're really good at ad clear, you're sitting around as an ad clear. You're sitting around doing nothing, especially if you're
Yeah, that's
rocking
true.
something like Sunshot or Trinity Ghoul. The inclusion of the Overload champions in base form, I really like that. Like I personally like champions. Um,
Yeah, as long as they're not.
well, these are Overload
I know.
champions.
I fucking hate them, dude.
But I like. Oh, and I like the fact that the thing that you're fighting against is not an enemy.
Right.
It is these objects that need to be destroyed. I think that's a great encounter, and it really stumped our raid for the first little bit there. Atrax is
Creativity.
I know you're not a fan of DPS checks. I know you're not a fan of DPS checks, but I also think that that's B tier.
I was gonna say, in terms of creativity, I would put it at B tier. In terms of mechanics, I put it at C.
Yeah, because especially once
it's figured out, it's a fucking meme encounter right now.
It's a meme encounter. I think what for me that bugs me about it is I've almost always been when we were doing the first of it, I was up top, right? But then for the rest of it, because I like to give other people the experience of going up to space, I like to stay down bottom.
Yeah.
But once you clear out that bottom room, you're sitting around. You're waiting for the mechanics to start occurring. There's nothing to kill. There's no real pressure. Yeah, you've got to hide from the boss, but there's nothing really that's like.
It wasn't even a DPS check. It was just the creativity in the way the DPS was dealt that stumped us.
And yes, and that's I also think the why it's up to B tier.
Right.
The fact that the DPS phase was for mini DPS spikes rather than like everyone sit on a plate, and like I love that.
Yeah.
I love that about Atrax. But again, it's there's a little bit of coordination, but I just think any boss encounter where I'm sitting around waiting for a mechanic to happen, I don't like.
Yeah, I get bored.
Talking about it now, I think that brings Galran up to A tier because there's just no waiting around.
That's
at all
true.
During that fight.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, Descent. C tier.
Yeah, because it's we did that for the first time ever, 4-man in 2 attempts.
Yeah, it took us 2 attempts.
Yeah.
It was neat. I like it. I don't think it's bad.
No, it's a fun encounter. It's fun. It's high mobility. It's fast paced. I enjoy it. It's easy.
I will also say that it's interesting because it's an encounter that has the same problem as the Witch's Ritual. You can't make it go faster.
No.
You cannot make it go faster. But you're not waiting around.
No, you are on the move. Yeah.
Around you, there's constant pressure. And the context of the fight that's going on makes sense why there is that long delay. Witch's Ritual, there's no reason why it's that long. The Descent, you're in a spaceship that's plummeting to Earth. It's hot and like the environment changes around you, but it's gonna take some time.
It's just a matter of clearing ads and running from point A to point B.
And you know what? Honestly, it's interesting that you say that the ad clearing, because that was the main gripe of Ron, right? It's like, this is just ad clear the raid. But this is an encounter specifically that is focused on ad clear. And when you have a spike of ad clearing that you have to do, like it really brings those builds to light. It's a highlight, and then you move on to a different thing.
Right.
Whereas Ron was it was just ad clear, ad clear, ad clear, ad clear. There was no dynamics to that raid. This is I still think it's C tier. I think it's below Galran's Deceptions, but I think it's a good C. I think it's a high C. Taniks. What do you think, man?
Taniks requires all 6 people to be actively engaged.
Yes.
It also has a interesting damage mechanic. I mean, damaging in general is not complex, but the literal physical space you have, I think is. I don't know if I would put it at A though, because I don't think it's even remotely competing with Galran. As far as engaging fun, I think it would sit very high B, yeah, but it is a good encounter. It's rounded. It's not difficult anymore. You can ramp up the difficulty if you want to go for all 4 bombs at once, right? So you can make it more challenging, but as a base encounter, doing the bare minimum, it's not difficult anymore, but everybody's engaged. There is nobody down.
Yeah, yeah, that is one of the sure virtues of this fight, especially if you're going for the 4 bomb. That's the reason why I was tempted to put it to A tier, right? Is because it is a final boss fight that, if executed appropriately, if doing a certain strategy, makes it faster and makes the
Okay,
DPS
that's fair.
phase more effective.
Yeah, that's
So, like,
fair.
the fact that that is a possibility for the
And
raid,
not a
and in order
requirement.
to do that, it requires everyone's on point participation, I think is a great virtue of the fight.
That's okay. That's fair.
Um,
I would say then that given that, it'd move it up to A below Galron, because Galron
Below Galron.
absolutely is. There's no options. You're either doing it or you're not.
Yeah.
Period.
I'm trying to think of what don't I like about the Taniks fight.
The-
I don't like I don't like the, and this is the mechanic they introduced in the Descent. I don't like the lockout mechanic of, like, your buff
Yeah.
randomly dying.
Burning out. But that kept everyone engaged, so I respect it.
Did, but it was an element of randomness that could really fuck up. I think that element of randomness could fuck up your potential to make that fight way quicker, right?
Yeah.
So in that way, it was almost unnecessarily obstructive. That's personal opinion, though.
What
That's
I
just
didn't
me
like about it
spouting.
is the predictability. The ads came out the same 3 doors on each side. You could, or 4 doors, whatever it ends up being. I normally play orange and suppressor, but it is very, very repetitive every time. It's the same every single time. Like, outside of the fact that he might go to spawn orange or blue for damage, it's identical. Whereas Galron was not, right? If we're gonna talk A class, A tier here, Galron was not predictable. You had no fucking idea what was gonna happen. Taniks is just DPS in a different location. Actually, DPS is the same location. It's just where, like, the 3 fucking balls that you have to click one time, or in a different location.
Yeah, I think that is an issue. I would say it's an issue. It might not actually be an issue, but I think that's an issue of Destiny overall when it comes to the ad game. The fact that they have these ads come out of these predictable black doors, right? Like, I think Destiny, in my opinion, is better when they leverage. I hate the doors. I've always hated the doors.
Doors on what? Which?
What I'm talking about, when you have a spawn point where your guys are just, like, walking out of a door that you can't get into. It's just like a
Like in
portal.
fucking Golgi.
Golgi or Golgoroth, Atheon, the Descent, Taniks. It's just like, okay, now the enemies are going to come out of this. I mean, we have these animations of, fallen ships coming in and dropping off troops, or the Vex teleporting in, or stuff like that. Like, and yet we're gonna have these guys walk out of. I mean, like, dude, all it takes is a single, like, solar grenade, void grenade, anything like that, and it's if you've got anarchy, you can put up the tripwire, right? Like, and you just completely negate that option, and it's something that I've always beefed with on Destiny. It just felt like it's just these enemies coming out of a black door. Okay, cool. Nice little barrel for me to shoot fish in.
Yeah.
That's me.
Reactor is fucking F tier.
Yeah.
Absolutely no. It's horrible.
I'm gonna put D tier. Give me your argument for F tier.
F tier because name one fire team that fucking works. Give me one fire team you've played on that fucking works in that encounter. I like the idea, but it's so repetitive. It's so repetitive. It's leapfrog, and that's it. There's nothing else to it. It is purely
People still
leapfrog.
struggled with
That's why I fucking hate it. Dude, I despise. I like the idea that it requires everybody to participate a little bit, but getting 6 motherfuckers to just walk at the same time is no. That was my least favorite. And talk about you can't speed it up. There you go.
You got me. But I think it's above Rich's Ritual because I liked getting near the end of it, right? Like, the
Environmentally,
first
it was
3
more
legs of
fun.
it, where it's just like, okay, we're all just leaping,
Yeah.
in order, yippee dippy. But
Yeah.
those last 2 legs where it's like, no, it's tripping up on you.
Right. You got to go here and there.
That.
Yeah.
But also reaching the end of the reactor, and it's just like,
Yeah.
okay,
Congratulations. Like
now you gotta fight off a bunch of guys that are swarming in.
Yeah. No.
For no fucking reason. Like,
Right.
it didn't make sense. Like, that was so like, what? Why are we fighting? It's just like, oh, we need a combat part of this. Oh, okay, cool. We'll just throw in combat.
Yeah, besides the like 3 snipers that would eventually kill one guy and you had to restart.
I like that part because it's like it adds pressure to the leapfrog, and because you've got to shoot while also not standing on your pillar for too long. Like, that for me is a virtue. But that ending fight, which just felt like
Maybe with a capable day 1 team, fine. But like there's no shot I would ever LFG that fucking encounter. No. No.
Yeah. Okay, so Argus. I really like the Argos fight.
I do too. I put it at B. Actually,
there's 2 phases. Okay,
first phase is.
I would put the first phase over the second phase.
Okay, first phase was which one? You got to remind me here.
First phase is where you're like cracking the shell off of them.
Right, so that's following with the laser beams, right?
Spots,
yeah.
And then you gotta.
Yeah.
The second phase had a similar thing, but you had to like trace the spheres, and it was kind of jank sometimes, and like you couldn't really save it.
Yeah, you had to have the right angle on that one, which.
And then like Argus would shoot out that cone or that prism thing that would carry you away, which is like, it was like, yeah, you needed to watch out for it, and it would split you up for a damage phase, but like,
I like the pressure that was applied in that one. I would say that was, I don't know if I would put it at A, probably B.
High B, but higher or lower than Crypt?
Are
we really gonna put Atrax below Crypt?
Yeah, because Atrax is a fucking, it's easy. It's too easy once you figure it out. And Crypt is not easy when you figure it out. Well, it is easy when you figure it out with the right team and communication. But Argos was not easy even with a good team doing it the right way.
And the Argus arena was just
beautiful.
Cool.
Yeah.
Fucking cool. You're inside of the mouth of the Leviathan.
Yeah, the cannon to fucking get in there. Yeah, absolutely.
That's cool, man.
And I would say Argos is, the second phase would, for the same reasons, just not quite as good, would stay B tier.
And constant pressure from ads.
Too. Yeah.
All right. Evade the Consecrated Mind.
A.
You think it's an A?
A. Yeah, absolutely. Because it requires full participation from every player the entire time, and granted you can't speed it up, but it is very mechanic heavy. While the mechanics are simple, it requires everybody to be participating and paying attention in the right spots.
And that last run is really fucking cool.
Right.
Where you're just sprinting.
Yeah, absolutely A, in my opinion. It is a very fun encounter to do. Even with a team maybe that isn't ideal, it can still be a fun time. And even with a team that is ideal, it can be challenging if you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
You could die easily in that encounter. You know? You gotta be balancing buffs and debuffs and tethers, and it's a leapfrog, but team-based leapfrog.
It's also tether at its least annoying.
Yes. Yeah.
Summoning the Consecrated Mind. That is gonna be a low C for me.
That's baseball. Oh yeah, I don't like that one. That's low C.
It takes a long time.
I would honestly put that D.
Yeah, you thinking? I'm
yeah.
with you on that one. I do like I've always been the floater, right? That would
Right.
go in and support. I feel like maybe a few more ads could have solved that, or maybe having 2 plates get invaded at the same time.
Yeah,
You
because
know what I
it's a
mean?
matter as a floater, you just literally go from point A to point B, refresh buff, kill a couple things, point A to point B, refresh. Like it's the same fucking thing as a plate holder. You're merely just killing ads, and then one person is like, "Hey, I need somebody here,"
You know
and
what I
that's
think would
it.
be good? Because so it is a I like the initial trench run, right? You setting up the basement,
Right.
right? And then obviously rushing the pitcher's mound. I think that part's cool too. Um, but the downfall of that fight is the buff upkeep and waiting for each plate to get attacked. And so like if I were to change one thing about the fight, it would be the first plate gets attacked, right? by by one, or one plate gets attacked, then again another plate gets attacked, and then there's one more phase where two plates get attacked at the same time,
Yeah.
right? So you have to, you're setting up the expectations, one, two, you're expecting that pattern to continue, but then it's just like, no, it's a ramp up. Oh crap, two plates are getting fucked over at the same time. If they're on opposite sides, then you got to get both runners going and helping
Right.
it out. But
Yeah.
if they're on the same side, like home base and first base, that's going to cause you to panic even more, and you got to stretch yourself even a little bit more.
Yeah, I
I
would
think
agree.
that would fix the encounter.
Yeah.
Honestly, that small change, I think that would do it wonders. And then you rush the pitcher's mound and everything after
I'd agree with that.
that. Consecrated Mind, I think is a great fight. I think it's a great fight. I would.
Yeah, I do like it. I would say it's a C for me.
You
Good
think it's a C?
fight. Good fight. Don't get me
High
wrong.
C.
High C. Yep. Good fight. Don't get me wrong. Um, I like that it split up the teams a little bit and it requires some movement.
Everyone's doing something.
Everyone's doing something, but it is not complicated.
But okay,
It's very, very simple to do. Damage is the only part that sucks. But again, as long as you have a team that's even half-ass good at it, it should be a walk in the park. It's the damage check of the raid. Don't get me
it is the
wrong.
damage check. Yeah.
But it's also buggy. And it's once you learned the mechanics, then it was just a matter of enacting them. It wasn't difficult. Didn't like and you can simplify it even more by running like a bow, right? And then you don't even have to jump over to fucking get the debuff or whatever the fuck it is.
Right. And what were the biggest threats of that encounter, right? Were you dying by the boss?
No,
No.
it was a fucking
You died by
harpies.
two different ways. You died by explosive harpies, or you died because one of your buddies shot the wrong eye.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So it was death by incompetence.
Right. Yes.
Which is like, fuck, man.
Yeah.
Not even you can make the right call out, and someone else could fuck up.
Right. Yeah.
Right? And that doesn't feel the best.
And that mechanic can be okay outside of the fact that it's timed, right? If you had a really, really, really great Gambit team, you could do that buff solo.
So fast.
Because you can take out all three eyes easily by yourself.
I said it's a virtue.
It's great about it that you could do that, but I think that's what kind of brings it down because it is so easily managed with a good team. Whereas again, even like we're talking Argos or Galron, you had to have a good team, but it still wasn't easily managed. Still had to be on top of it. Although,
Did you not say that Atrax then?
I was just going to say, Atrax I think would probably drop down to C with that being said.
Argus Phase 2 is still where it is because that still requires a lot of movement and coordination.
Yeah. Because I think Crypt is cooler than A.
Atrax.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, think about Atrax now, right? Like, when you have one person or two people down low, everybody else goes up.
Dude,
That first person grabs the buff down low, and then you're good.
With Thunder Crash and fucking my fully charged, not Air Parent, the other one,
The Worm Husk, or
there's the worm, the parasite one, but I'm talking about the machine gun that shoots the rocket burst, right?
oh,
I
Grand
by
Overture.
myself can do like a third of his health.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Like,
I can't do that to Consecrated Mind.
yeah,
I'm not that good. I don't think that anybody has that much damage, and I think that actually brings Atrax a little bit down.
a little lower. Atrax is gonna end up in D,
Just-
dude. It's such a cool. It's a cool concept. It just, I don't know. In theory, it didn't work. All right, Sanctified Mind. That's a tough
Here's the
one.
thing- Okay. I'm gonna put Sanctified Mind at B tier. Here's why. What brings it up? It is one of the few raid bosses, I would say, that not that it requires, but is greatly benefited by roaming supers. Right? How many boss
Yeah,
fights do you
true.
have where
That's
it's just
true.
one and done supers or support supers or
Yeah.
anything like that? The most effective way to do that fight, I'm always tether team, but I love being invasion team because it means I can pop Fists of Havoc, go in there and wipe out an entire side.
Yeah,
super
Arc
fucking
Staff,
fast,
baby.
and it's valuable to do that, right? You can do that with add clear weapons now, but back then it was like, dude, yeah, Sunbreaker, any sort of roaming super. That is massive. I also like the fact that there's constant pressure, not only time pressure, but like the spawning of the Cyclops
Yep.
really can fuck you up. The tether mechanic really keeps that tether team going. Everyone's doing something all the time during that fight.
Yeah.
Okay, now here's the pros and the con at the same time. The tether mechanic, specifically during that final boss thing, that thing gets fucked up entirely because of player incompetence. I'm not going to lie.
It also, though, I've noticed because of activation time on a tether, where it's not immediate, right?
It feels laggy.
It feels laggy, which makes it
Not
feel
that
like it's right. It makes it feel like it has errors that are not user error,
Yes,
and that is what I don't like about that fight.
I agree. I also feel like here are the other two things that I think are firmly in the not good a category for Sanctified Mind. Number one, it's so strict.
Yeah.
It's so strict. Well, you fuck up one, you have one wave where you can fuck up, right? Where like, oh, I accidentally died. I dropped all of my tributes. Okay, it's fine. I can go and grab 10, right? You can fuck that up once. You get one sacrifice, you can maybe come back from that.
Right, but
If
it's
you have
tough.
more than one sacrifice or more than one death on an away team, just go jump off a cliff. And the
Yep.
fact that the auto kill mechanic is so far away.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
I also think that while strict DPS windows are really good, I think it's a bit too short.
I would agree with that as well.
It's a touch too short. I want that DPS window just be a little bit longer, like 5 seconds at most.
It's a touch
like
too
the fight.
short for the weaponry available for optimal DPS, because his precision spot, his crit spot is so it's fucking RNG based. I swear to God. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't like it.
It's you can be aiming directly at that motherfucker and still not get the precision crit.
Garden of Salvation would be one of my favorite raids if it wasn't for
As a whole, it's fun.
I like it. Flavor wise, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay. King's Fall, totems.
D.
B. I'd say B as well.
You said B? I said D.
You said D.
Yeah.
Talk to me.
Totems, it's just fucking easy. It doesn't require it requires, especially again, if you have a half competent team, you can kill your witch. I'm talking day one, okay? On day one, I ran dodge punch, arc baby, okay?
Yep.
I never struggled, nor did I even come close to death. I died because we wiped. Not because I was struggling to stay alive. Not because I was struggling to kill my ads. Not because I was struggling to kill my mini bosses. It was purely because we wiped. And you put on any tracking rocket launcher, and any even remotely good ad clear gun, and you have no issues standing on your plate and defending. So what's difficult about it? Because people have to like fucking somewhat jog around with each other. You can have many fuck ups and still recover.
I'm going to compromise with you on this because while you are correct that with a good team, it's super easy, I've been with teams that struggle.
Yes.
They struggle so hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, every single time I make sure that they go to the taken side because for some reason people just can't handle the hive side, and it boggles my mind that they can't handle it. So I, but it's here's another thing: is it another encounter where everyone has to be doing something? I think that they have the rotation, the timing of the rotation, pitch perfect.
I
Right?
agree.
Because when I come back, I have let's say I'm on the plate, I've collected all my tribute. I have enough time to get to my plate, and then immediately I have to go up and I have to kill my wizard, and then I immediately have to kill my knight, and then I have to immediately go back to the plate and start collecting tribute again.
Yeah.
It is such a tight timing. So well, like I think the
It
pacing of it
can be, but
is so good.
I think that's also very dependent on loadout. Again, day one, I was killing my knight, my wizard, in one shotgun shot, and I was killing my knight in one shotgun shot and one punch. So it was taking me a grand total of, excluding spawn time, because obviously you have to wait for that knight to spawn in, right, and the wizard to come out. Excluding that, it was taking me maybe a second and a half to get both kills. And
Oh yeah,
so I was,
those kills aren't hard. Those
yeah,
kills aren't hard,
yeah,
especially if you're ramping up the right buffs,
right.
right?
And so you can get over to your guy at the plate with 15 seconds left, and then you're just standing there,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I get you there.
And then when you get back, let's say you're now the runner going back to mid to deposit your whatever the fuck they're called, I forget.
I'm just calling it tribute.
You're not killing anything besides the unstoppable. That's it.
Oh, yeah, you have to actively tell yourself to
Not kill
I think
things.
I do think that that is an interesting.
That's purely to make it go faster. Like you could, right? You could kill stuff. And on day one, you probably wanted to, so the person down bottom didn't get overwhelmed. But now that it's not contest mode, we're actively trying to flood those rooms with ads to get it done faster.
So you bring up an interesting point, right? Which is it is not a mechanic per se that the runner running back to the plate shouldn't kill ads. They have to make that choice to not kill ads in order to make the encounter go faster. However, it does bring up an idea of like, would that be a good mechanic of I have to choose between killing ads and getting something done, right? Where killing is not the right answer.
True.
I'm intrigued by that concept. So yeah, I'm gonna go halvesies on you with that. You say D, I said B.
Oh, yes,
I think it's a
C is
solid
fair.
C.
That's fair.
I think C is good. War Priest. I like the War Priest fight.
I do too. I would say I like it, but I think that's just a personal like it. I don't think that it's a difficult fight. Yeah, C feels pretty accurate.
I'm gonna put it below Atrax.
Yeah?
I
Okay,
have
that's
my
fair.
I have my gripes with War Priest. I think he's got enough health. It's not a health issue. I think there's plenty of ways in order to handle him. I actually really like getting up on the stage with him.
Yep.
That way it reduces because nothing irks me more than like standing up top trying to shoot him and he's wandering
Around that
back and forth
fucking pillar.
behind that stupid fucking pillar.
Yeah.
I hate it, dude. I hate that. So I also think that the spawns of the like having to kill the other special knights, in order to keep the DPS phase going, I think that's really good. But I think it also suffers from certain things. That same mechanic of it's especially noticeable where you just have ads walking out of doors, and so you're just sitting there, you're just killing ads as they come out of the doors. The fight gets more interesting when you start fighting Taken because they're spawning mid arena, but there's less of them that spawn, and so it's just like I don't get to keep that momentum up, right? Like it feels like this fight simultaneously gets better, but also slows down, right? So it's correcting itself, but I don't know. Um,
I
Those are my
just
issues
I just
with
like
it.
that that was a very easy one on day one, in my opinion. Again, and I was using a little bit of an OP build. I'm not gonna lie, but um, I like it in as a personal fight because it's fun. It requires movement. Doesn't really require the full team to be involved though, which meh. I feel like C feels appropriate for that one for sure.
Yeah. Golgoroth. Golgoroth is, I think it's actually A or S tier. I
Golgoroth,
honestly
you
do.
think A or S?
I do. I do.
I would say
I
A feels accurate. I don't think it's S tier. I don't think it
okay.
qualifies for S. Um,
Would you put it over or under Galran?
below.
Okay.
Um,
It's right there for me. It's
it's
really
it's
between those
it's
two.
yeah, it's definitely better than Taniks. I
Oh
like
yeah.
that it
Yeah.
requires a lot of team communication, but again, it is relatively easy fight when executed remotely good.
Yeah. I like I like the fact that movement is required. I like the fact that um it sort of has the same mechanic as Atrax where it's a bunch of small damage phases, but it's executed a little bit cleaner. Well, cleaner, it's more involved. It's more involved, right? Because you have to be the one that drops the booger, right?
Right.
And then your guy that's holding the aggro has to actively turn the boss. Like that's really cool. The most boring part of the fight is when the phase is over and you got to go back to killing ads that come out of doors, which is always again, I'm going to keep banging that drum.
Right.
But I think and when you kill Golgoroth, you get splooshed. And if you have too many deaths, then like the Tablet of Ruin is completed and like that taps into lore, and I think Golgoroth is very close to a perfect fight. I actually really like the changes that they made as a part of Pantheon, where you had two people that had the blighted light. I think the only real negative of that is the fact that the buff screen is so overloaded that you can't tell if you got the blighted light. It's not the easiest thing to tell, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
that I mean, but that'll change. We'll see how maybe that'll grow in or it'll gain some credibility or I guess traction with the new UI coming up.
Yeah. Daughters. Daughters is a mid
Yeah,
fight.
yeah, that's mid. C.
It's mid. I'd say low C, high D.
Yeah, high D even. It
I think it's lower than Summon Consecrated Mind.
yeah, I would agree.
It's
It's
very
just
quick. To its virtue, it's quick.
yeah, true, but it's just boring. It's not fun.
Yeah, yeah.
It's also a D1 raid. Which mechanically speaking, I grant I
they
didn't
made it
play
simpler
D1.
back then because
It's
the
simpler.
players weren't as
Right,
smart.
exactly. So it can be as a whole the raid is fun. As an encounter, it's meh.
And then as soon as you do get that invulnerability buff, and you're sitting there and you're doing DPS, health is not an issue whatsoever.
Right.
And your super usage, you could use ad clear supers for that, right?
Yeah.
But you also kind of want to use them for the for the killing. I don't know. They're all right. They're not spectacular, right?
It's been easily completed regardless of metas. Just pull out whatever the fuck you want and shred through it.
Yeah, I think the only virtue of it is that it can be done quick.
Yeah.
Right. Oryx.
I honestly would throw it in D as well.
I disagree. I disagree. Why would you say D?
Because I don't personally like the fight. I think it's boring. It doesn't really require doesn't require a whole lot of team communication, to be honest. You need like 2 to 3 people tops communicating. Everybody else is just shooting shit. Because you could have one person essentially operating the bottom, you could have one person operating the top, and one floater in case you had like an L1 R1 or an L2 R2, right? So you could have 3 people operating all of the mechanics, and then you just have one random ass person who has to do a basic bitch jump puzzle. That's the whole fight.
Yeah, here's the things that I don't like about it. Um, again, kind of like what you said, I think that group participation is not entirely necessary. Like you can pug this raid, which is not necessarily a vice, but it's not a virtue.
Not without
Um,
Galahorn, dude.
it is I don't like I don't like the immunity mechanic. Again, like you're when you're doing DPS to the boss, um you I don't really see how the fight would be that much different without the immunity mechanic. I'm gonna be honest. Let's put it this way, right? You're exploding the light from the light eater ogres in order to stun the boss. In D1, it was to damage the boss, but now it's just to stun Oryx.
Right.
Um, it made sense for you to want to be in an immunity sphere in order to avoid getting damaged by the light because it was strong enough to damage a hive god in his own thing. Now it's just a stun and a duration of a stun, right? And then at that point, after those bombs are exploded, right? And if you're outside of the sphere, cool, yeah, you're gonna die. You got to time that up. You're gonna die. But at the same time, while you're sending that immunity sphere, your biggest annoyance is
Brawl.
getting your is Arthrall just knocking your aim, right?
Right.
The DPS phase is just fire at his chest over and over and over,
Very long, very easy.
which is fine. I'm
Right.
okay with like it's your standard Destiny damage phase,
Right.
but there's the threat of the fight is so minimized, right? I think the best parts of the fight, virtues of it, are the mid phases, the bridges, right, where it's like you have to run away from his bombs,
Yeah.
or better yet, when you get teleported into the Thunderdome. Those are freaking cool. Those are great, and especially with the bombs where you can end it early. That's awesome. You get some hero moments with that, but I think that the overall that the fight is okay. It's got some cool stuff, but I don't think it's bad.
I would
I
say
think it's dated.
if you were gonna put it higher, I think it's better than totems in my opinion. So, but not by much.
It's better than War Priest. Is it better than Atrax?
Yeah.
Is it better than Consecrated Mind? That's fair. Baths. Baths is F tier.
Okay, wait. Are we talking prestige or base? Prestige is
Let's
much
say
more.
base because I don't
Okay.
remember Prestige very much at all.
Prestige required you couldn't stay on the same side. You had to rotate all the way through.
Okay.
Um, even with that though, I would say yeah.
You know what
It's
Baths
kind of
is? Baths is a more boring totems encounter because you just have people rotating, rotating, rotating,
yeah.
rotating, rotating,
Yeah,
rotating.
I'd say F is fair.
Like what's the point of the fight? Killing what are you
Breaking
destroying?
chains. Break the
You're
chains.
breaking chains and you're breaking bath bombs.
Right.
Like it's just like a eh, eh,
Yeah, meh.
right? It's just not good. Castellum,
I like Asylum, but it's not difficult. Yeah, D.
it's a D tier. It's not annoying. It's not pointless. I think
It's fun.
I
I
would
think
almost
it's
put it F tier because you have to do it so many times.
if you don't take Underbelly.
Yeah, Castellum's great if you only have to do it once because after that you're taking the underbelly.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so the fact that it can be skipped, the fact that you don't have to do it is a
Gives it D
virtue.
tier. Gives it D tier. Dogs,
um,
absolutely B tier. I fucking love that encounter.
yeah,
Full team
yeah.
participation. You cannot fuck it up.
You
Uh,
can fuck it up, but you can recover.
a little bit, yeah, to a degree, in certain points though, right?
Like you still have different phases at which you can, like, if you don't kill all your dogs, right? The interesting thing about that mechanic, about that fight is you don't want to kill one dog over another, right? You want to kill them all at the same time,
Right. Because it
right?
gets more
Which I think
difficult the more you fuck up.
yes, yes, yes. Or if someone goes too hard on the DPS, like you or me have done a couple times, and you kill the dogs, and it's like, oh, we have extra pressure.
Right.
Um,
I
I
also
think
like that
having
it's the
to
only encounter that requires stealth.
Yeah. Well, okay. Besides oracles. Oracles, I remember this from when dogs first came out. It's like they saw people from oracles and from Vault of Glass, and they're like, what if we turn it into a real encounter, right?
Yeah.
Instead of just like a jumping puzzle. And that's what it is. And I think it's really good. And besides the fact, my raid team got stuck on that fight for a long time. And even still, the music is so good. I remember that music.
Yeah.
As soon as DPS face,
That was my favorite. That was my favorite fucking encounter in that raid.
so
I would
good.
say, to be honest, I would say it's above Argos even. Second.
Above Argos.
That
even?
one. Yeah, not the first one, but second phase.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I would say it's above Crypt Security.
I would actually have to agree, because again, the stealth mechanic is just cool. It's just fucking
So
cool.
good. It was so well done, and it was so easy to blame somebody who got spotted because
Yeah. True.
my instinct was Crim.
Yep. Okay.
All right, Gauntlet C tier.
Really? Okay. I'm all ears.
Okay, I liked it. I don't think it was bad. I like it even more than when we call it game show and just piss off Atlas. I like the fact that it's a jumping puzzle that requires communication and everybody rotating. I like the fact that
There was some in-house competition as well, right?
yeah,
Like, I
who
like
finishes
that.
faster, and the fact that certain callouts had to be happening at the same time and you had to listen to the right person.
Right?
I liked that. Um,
I don't like that it was later discovered how you could just shoot all three fast enough and it would count. Didn't matter if you
yes,
hit it in the right order.
yes. I also didn't like.
Yeah.
I didn't like that. It's another encounter you can't speed up.
Yeah,
You can
true.
only just not fuck it up. I really like the final thing where it's like
Final run.
everybody gets teleported in the final run. Really, really like that. And the fact that you have to communicate of like,
I'm taking
hey,
X. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
taking love that. I really like think that's cool. I think more I always like jump puzzles as encounters. And we're gonna get to that as soon as we get to Vault or not sorry, Valve the Disciple. But I think it's good. I also think that it's pointless, lore wise. It's a game show.
Fair.
Jumping puzzle. What are we solving? We're just impressing the Emperor.
Yeah.
And he's a prick. So I don't know.
Speaking of, let's see here.
I think C tier. I think C tier for Callus. I think
Above Galrons, below War Priest. Actually, above War Priest.
above War Priest. I thought that especially during the time, it was a tough encounter. It was tough to get that ad clear down. I thought the reveal at the end that we were just killing a robot was cool. I thought jumping between plates was cool. The Shadow Realm could be kind of jank. I think that could count for it and against it. I think having to communicate across sides and you have that time pressure of like you have to punch the scion that's not whose symbol is not seen. I like that. Um I think it's a good fight. The more I'm talking about it. Like what's bad about
Maybe
it?
above Atrax. Just keep sliding that down.
We really is it better than Atrax?
Yes,
I think it's better than
because it
Atrax.
requires
I don't
more
think it's better
people.
than Oryx.
No, I think it
I don't think
requires more people to be involved. You can't really speed it up, which is fine.
oh, and that room could get fucking flooded with ads.
Yeah.
You could get overwhelmed
Yes.
so easily. And if you weren't precise while you were in the Shadow Realm, not only could you get bumped off into getting sucked in, but you could also get killed by the Scions. And
Yep.
so you were constantly paying attention. There was a decent amount of stress during that entire fight. And the whole shooting of the skulls thing. And you had to make that gambit of like, how long do we shoot skulls before we have to break his shield? So you can speed up the fight by playing into the risk. Calus is a good fight, dude.
It is.
That's a good fight. I do think it was a bit weak for the first raid of Destiny. I think it was a little bit contextless.
Yeah. Okay. Fair.
Or its stakes weren't as high because it was like we handled the main stakes of the story, and now we have to go impress this dude. I even remember that during the time of just like, cool, this is neat, but it's not a Vault of Glass. It's not an Oryx the Taken King, right? Like I'm not feeling an existential threat from Calus. And maybe at the time that was okay, but I don't know.
Okay.
Kali.
A.
Kali's fine.
A.
Oh. Okay.
Requires so much communication. Requires everybody to do their job. If one person fucks up, wipe. Not in every portion of the fight,
No,
but
I disagree with that.
but everybody has to do their plates. Everybody has to know their call-outs, know their doors. You fucking pick the wrong door because you're a jackass and can't count to 6. You fucking kill your teammates.
You don't know how to read a book?
Yeah, you kill your teammates. So it requires heavy team communication, heavy teamwork. I like the fact that while it's easy now, she is a difficult boss to hit your crits on, so it requires a little bit of skill as far as actual gameplay goes.
He's not the broadside of a barn.
Right, and it does change every single time. Granted, again, this is something that you can now do, using Star Eaters and all Goldies in one plate without ever doing a single mechanic. I acknowledge that exists, but I would say it is A tier, and I personally would put it even above Taniks for sure.
Okay. Here, I'm willing to do that, but I want to get my points out first to see if you agree.
Okay.
Yes, everybody has to do their mechanic. What is their mechanic? Standing on a plate.
Mm-hmm. But you have to pay attention on that plate.
Yeah, you've got to stand on a third of it.
Right.
And then every once in a while, the boss does teleport to you. You got to handle her. Neat. I like that. I like the fact that she's constantly warping around and attacking people. Like she feels like a lot of these boss fights. It doesn't feel like you're fighting somebody. It feels like you're going through a puzzle, right? And the adversary is the bar of health rather than the person in front of you, or you're fighting against Kali. She's fighting you, right? She's trying to fuck you up on purpose. I think that's a great virtue of the fight. I like the multiple stages of the fight of just like, okay, damage, hide from her, damage, hide from her. I think that's really novel. But I think I come back to the fact that everybody participating is just everybody standing on a plate for about 30 seconds. And then you got to kill one dude.
So yeah, but if you stand on the wrong plate, then again, you make it more difficult for your teammates.
Yeah, but how hard is it to stand on the wrong plate?
I'd love to say it's easy to not do it, but
I would put it higher than Taniks if it wasn't just standing on the plate. If there was some other mechanic that you had to do in order to make sure that your door opened. I think the whole standing on the plate thing, even with the incoming ads and other stuff like that, I feel like that has always felt a bit boring to me. I don't want to be bored during a boss fight.
I agree, but I think as a boss, she is more difficult than Taniks. As a literal boss, she is more difficult than Taniks.
No, I disagree with that.
You think Taniks is more difficult to I mean, it's div shotguns.
Than from Kali.
That's because they don't know how to stand in one fucking spot.
And you could say the same thing with Kali.
Yes, but even if they don't stand in one spot, Kali moves. Taniks doesn't.
Okay.
I guess if you're using div, though, technically speaking, if you're using div on Kali, you're actually sacrificing DPS but making it easier. And Taniks, you don't do without Div. But if you were not to use Div, then hitting his crit would be just as difficult as Kali. So, okay. Yeah, alright, you know what? That's fair.
That's my only counterpoint.
Yep, that's fair. Aesthetically speaking, Last Wish is better, though.
Yes.
We'll leave it below Taniks, but we'll acknowledge the fact that it's cooler.
You and I can disagree there. If you were doing the tier list, I would cede to you if you wanted to put.
I think it's a cooler fight, but I could agree that it's not technically as difficult as Taniks.
I think that's where I would put it lower.
Fair.
Yeah.
I want to hear your next one.
That being said, I still don't feel like I am at except for Taniks doing certain mechanics like calling down the meteors. I don't feel threatened by Taniks.
Not at all. Not at any point.
Shirochi is a fucking cool fight, man. That's a fucking cool fight. That's a fucking cool fight. I like the constant movement. I love the fact that we're scaling up this tower. I love the fact that we have to solve puzzles mid-fight. I love that we have to ration ammo. I love that you have to time supers. I think it's a great fight.
I do too, and if I'm honest, I think it's above Golgi.
It's above Golgi?
I do. If I'm brutally honest, I think it's above Dalaran. I would almost put it in S because it does require so much communication. It is a constant move. There is ads. The boss is difficult. The boss is fucking you up the whole time. Even while doing mechanics, you are taking damage. So if you don't time your teammates right, one of them fucking dies, and then you got to scramble to get some other jackass in there in place because you don't have the time.
On the wrong plate, and they're insistent that
right.
they're not standing on the wrong plate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here's why I'm not going to put it S tier. I think I would agree with you. I like it better than Galran. It's a much more. It's such a fucking
so engaging.
Here's what I would say, and here's what puts it above Galran for me. You ready? What weapons do you use against Shirochi? Shotguns, fusion rifles,
swords,
linear fusion rifles.
It's not heavy.
At some point, it was swords. It requires such a different loadout for her fight.
Yeah.
Than every other boss.
Yeah, but it's not heavy either that you have to use for right? That's cool.
I think here's the thing that keeps it from S tier for me is even though you're going not everybody has to do everything.
Fair. There's honestly, 2 people that don't have to do anything the whole time.
There are only 4 required positions.
Right.
You don't need all 6. And I think that right there is the only thing keeping it from S.
And being Gooba stomped by Yes.
On you. Fuck.
Just don't touch the middle, dude.
Literally tilting. Morgeth. I think Morgeth is C or D.
Yeah. It's fun-ish. Kind of sometimes. I would say D, honestly. It's easy. It's not the most engaging fight. It's yeah. Meh.
Here's what I've always thought about Morgeth. It feels like a fight that the developers had an idea, designed it for a certain strategy, right? And the player base never really figured out the strategy, but we found a way to brute force it. So that it requires the 1 phase, but if we actually did the mechanics the way that Bungie had intended, it would be a 2-3 phase fight.
Yeah.
And you could say, oh, cool, we found a way to speed it up. We don't know how to do it any other way.
Yeah.
Right?
It used to be Whisper, the back of the bridge, behind a rally barricade. Somebody was taking out the fucking missiles that were coming at you, the Axiom bolts or whatever, while everyone else was trying to hit the little speck on the top of his face. And now it's just like, hey, just touch his butt and you're fine.
Yeah.
It's super easy.
Um,
Easy to kill yourself too.
I like the risk reward mechanic with the taken strength, but again, I feel like that's a mechanic that does that mechanic pop up at all the rest of the fight, the rest of the raid?
No. Yes. Queen's Walk.
Yeah, it does, but is it consequential to the fight? No, it's
No, not really. As long as you're picking
I
them up, it
just
doesn't really matter.
that mechanic it just felt weird to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So very unclear. Vault, I think I would have put it S tier long
Yeah,
ago.
S tier absolutely for me.
You still think it's
I
S
think
tier?
it's S tier. Yep. It's easy. Don't get me wrong. Now it is easy.
No.
But it is.
Do you think Vault is better than Shirochi?
I do. Yeah, actually.
You really? Okay.
I do. But I think that's because it's so different. Like it's just like it requires call outs and you can have fun with it while still having to actually pay attention. And I like that. It's easy now. Don't get me wrong.
I think that's why I would take it down. I think personally, I'll give you the S tier because at one point in time I did think it was S tier. It's honestly one of my favorite encounters from the raid.
It's
all raids.
Yeah, it's my favorite encounter from any raid. Absolutely.
But I think that now that it's so easy to kill those taken knights that come through and try to fuck up the encounter,
Yep.
it really takes the wind out of those sails.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's a walk in the park now. But I mean, every raid is now a walk in the park. There's not one that's difficult anymore. You know, outside of doing Riven legit, and even then, because of our power creep, it's still like one phaseable. So
Cream.
what?
You said power creep?
Power creep.
Like a crepe, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Crepes.
I would say yeah. I think it's S because it still holds in my opinion. It's my favorite encounter. It's fun and engaging.
Counterpoint. Ready?
Yep. I'm okay with that.
I just keep thinking about it.
I still
really
think
like Vault.
Yeah.
I really like Vault.
Shirochi is better.
Shirochi
is better now because it's still difficult.
With all of our power creep, it's still a fight.
Right.
It's still a fight.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Riven. I am going to put Riven B tier. I'm probably going to put it right above Sanctified Mind. I'll put above Argus.
Yeah, okay. I would say that.
I'll put above Crypt Security.
We're losing the internet here.
Oh no. You're right.
Yep, we're good. Go ahead. Say again. You what?
I would say I can't take it any higher than Crypt Security. I would put it higher if it couldn't be cheesed so easily. In fact, I really kind of wish that we would have done Riven during Pantheon. Because I've always wanted to do Riven legit.
Yeah. I would agree. I think that's fair for that.
I think cool factor is what carries it so far. I think it's so unique among all Destiny raids. I think it's so fucking cool. I just wish we had a group that would do it legit. I think it's a great encounter. But I think that's all I really have to say about it. Queen's Walk is it's a
cool concept. B. I'd give it a B, low B.
Low B. It's good. It's fine.
Not much to it. this
Yeah.
this is low B.
Yeah. Cataclysm.
Mm, not it.
Maybe high D.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just
Bad. It's
it
okay.
it requires there's one person doing mechanics and everyone else is killing.
Yep.
Decision. S- C tier. Um,
I can't.
that is the jumping across.
Oh
Jumping
yeah.
across the gap. Um, there. I think it's fun. I like it. I like it. The jumping pads can be a little bit annoying and janky. You can just fix that by using strand. Um, I like the different strategies that you can do in order. I like that it allows for different strategies, right? You don't have to be having one person jumping across the entire time. You can, like, my favorite strategy is I get light side, I jump across to the dark side, I hit my first orb, then I get a dark buff, and I stay on the dark side. Then I get the dark buff again, jump across back to the light side. You know, I like that. I like the fact that there are different ways that you can do it.
Right.
Um, yeah, that's all I got. I think that the time pressure is good. I don't think I would make it any tighter. Good groups
No.
can clear it easily. Bad groups will still feel pressure.
Yep.
I think
I
that's
agree.
good.
Yeah.
Pressure in a fight is good.
Yep.
In fact, for that, I'm gonna put it above Gauntlet.
Fair.
Explicator,
Low B.
low B.
Fun, not difficult. A little bit of paying attention, and it's easy.
Uh, Amazing boss arena.
Right. Very cool.
Um, the boss mechanic of swapping orbs and planets and stuff. I think it's the only time in that raid that that gets used.
Yeah.
And it feels like a boss out of a different raid. To its credit. But points against it are who the fuck is the explicator? Don't know, don't care.
It's simple. It's repetitive and simple.
You know what it is? It feels like an attempt to improve the caretaker fight in the DPS phase, and I don't think it succeeds because I think having to figure out which plates you're going to go to in what order is novel but not consequential.
It's also out of place. It
Yeah.
utilizes none of the mechanics from the rest of the raid.
Yeah, like
And
you
its
don't have to
mechanic
use
is never
sand,
used
a
anywhere
light
else.
pool or a dark pool
Right.
to damage anybody.
They didn't pull that mechanic into Nezarec. It is just there. It felt like a placeholder. It didn't
It's the
feel like it
best-
fit.
It's the best fight of Ron
Yes, absolutely.
because Nezarec
Is a fucking C or D, honestly. Actually, yeah, I would put it in D.
you would put it in D.
I would put it in D.
I don't.
It
Think I
requires 2 people to do anything.
No, it needs 3 people. You need someone with a gaze. You do need someone with a gaze.
But he could be gazing anybody, and that one random ass person can, especially now, you can tank that shit.
Yeah, but
with
you still
ease.
need that because if you don't have the gaze, then everyone's getting bumped up and you can't do them.
That's fair. Okay, that's fair. All right, fine.
I will say Nezarec on Master was pretty fucking cool, and I heard that Nezarec on Pantheon was actually really threatening. Which was really good to hear. But yeah, base Nezarec, the base model. I'm not even a fan of his character model, if I'm being honest. Like it just felt like Rolk's ugly uncle.
Yeah.
With a beer gut, you know?
Yeah.
And I didn't like, honestly, no shade to the writers. I didn't like his dialogue either. I thought the voice actor's fine, but I thought as he's talking to you throughout the raid, it's just like,
Yeah. Ugh. Okay. Yeah. All
it's
right,
it's amazing
buddy.
how far you'll go to reach your goals.
Yeah.
It's like, shut up, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nezarec was a cool concept before he was not. He's one of those things where the question was better than the answer.
Yeah. Okay. Fair.
You know what I mean? Spire of Stars,
A.
Statue Garden.
I think it's an A tier.
Statue Garden, I
Yeah.
really like that first encounter.
That's
You
the
think
one with the
A, though.
balls you have to chuck around, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely A. I love that encounter. It's so difficult, even as a good
Timing's
fire
great.
team, because timing is good. It doesn't matter. It's not like can't power creep that one, right? You have to be on it. You
Yeah.
have to
Oh,
be
that's a
paying
good point.
attention. I like that.
That is a good point. You can't power creep it. Like, you have to know the mechanic.
Yep.
You can't just, like, yeah.
You can't fucking tough your way through that. You have to pay attention. You have to like and the idea of just like playing catch essentially is just, I mean, that's cool to me. I like that.
Underutilized.
Yeah.
I want a game mode in Destiny and PvP where it's like you're throwing balls to each other, and how do you make it so the person carrying the ball doesn't get killed? If you don't have the ball, you
Yeah,
have
like a
sword.
capture the flag almost, or
Yeah.
what do they call that in a touch football kind of thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, if you don't have the sword, if you
Or
don't have
like
the ball in your
oddball
hands-
in Halo.
yes, it's what it needs.
Yes.
That's what I want that mode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ships. I'll say I think ships is better than
Ships
Volcom.
was fuck, which one was that?
It's the one where you've got to go up to the plates, you got to arm the right guns, then you got to go up into space and throw the ball at the ship.
Oh, oh yeah, because right, the same encounters, the arena doesn't change for like 3 encounters.
Yeah. I think
It's
Volca War. I know
okay.
people really like Volca War. Like Datto thinks it's one of the best fights. I think Volca Or started to stretch how much can be done in a single encounter.
I agree.
There's a lot of moving parts.
Very mechanic
Almost
heavy.
Too many moving parts, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'm just simple, smooth brain. But I think that the base ships is good. I would say base ships.
Yeah, low B. That's fair. I would agree.
Volca Or, I would put.
I would still put that low. I would put that low B right next to ships because they're relatively the same mechanics. It's just a little bit more on top of it. And personally, I'm a fan of mechanics. I don't give a fuck about your ad clear. Ad clear is easy.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give you that. Conflux is Volta Glass. Fine. It's honestly Cataclysm tier. It's just like
it's just doing it.
you're there.
Yep.
You're doing it. It was way harder in Destiny 1 when you didn't have all the power.
Right.
It was way harder. But now you have like, dude, it's
easy.
Even with the turkeys coming out, it's just like,
Yeah.
okay, well, fuck you, turkey. Oracles.
Better than Confluxes, but not by much. Better than Cataclysm. I would even put it better than Nezarec, but still D.
Templar is fine.
D. It's so easy. You need one person to run around.
It's more interesting than Daughters.
Yeah, I agree.
It's more interesting than. Is it more? It's not more interesting than Morgoth.
Because it's literally kill the first set of oracles and then have one person run. That's it.
And the virtue of Templar is that you can stop his teleport.
Yeah.
And which means you can keep damaging.
Yep.
Gatekeeper.
I like Gatekeeper, but I don't think it's a good encounter.
It's good.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's fun, but I don't think it's super difficult. I would put it in a C.
Lower.
Probably above Galron's on. Yeah, you think?
I think bottom of C.
Below Descent, actually. I think below Totems.
Descent, I'm still moving around. Totems, I'm still moving around. Gatekeeper, if I'm guarding a plate, I'm standing there and waiting for overloads to spawn or a gatekeeper to spawn.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, it really requires 2 people to like be active, and then 2 people to just kind of be waiting to be active.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Atheon.
I put it the same, honestly. Atheon
is
requires the oracles, but the people in that room, you purposefully don't kill ads.
It's better than Gatekeeper, but it's
yeah, yeah.
it's neck and neck. The fact that you get to kill a boss and get Vexmith the class. Okay, acquisition. Um, that's a D tier. That's a D tier.
Yeah.
It's
It's
better.
it's
It's better
okay.
than Castellum, but it's so slow. I'm so glad that they didn't put the stupid escort mission at the beginning because that would be
Oh,
bottom of F.
yeah.
Bottom of F.
Yep. Absolutely horrible.
Caretaker. I think is a good fight. I think that's
It's a good fight, but it's not difficult. I would put it in like a mid B. Feels pretty accurate. It's fun. That's what it's got going for it.
especially if you're a runner. I love being a runner.
Yep. It's fun even being babysitter though. We had a great time yesterday.
Yeah, we did.
Speaking
Yep.
of which, they're fucking buffing consecration. So I mean, yeah,
You saw what happened.
yeah,
every
that's
time they buffed up.
needed.
Oh man. I like it better than Riven.
I agree. Yeah, I like it better than.
Not more than dogs, but I like it better than Riven. Exhibition.
That's a good encounter.
Controversial. It's an S tier. It's an S tier.
Yeah, I would say so. I actually think
Why?
I would put that above Vault even. Even though Vault's my favorite,
Thank you.
I think I would
No,
put it above Vault.
I didn't want to be so presumptuous. Here's why I love exhibition. One, you have to be on your game. You have to know your movement, right?
Yep.
Everyone's participating because there are enough ads in order for you to do it. And then later on, everybody has to be knowing, like you have to juggle because of the
Right.
cooldown. Everybody has to have at least one point where they're using a relic.
Right.
It's movement heavy.
Yeah.
It's so movement heavy. You have to be on your toes, ready to adapt at any point. Because if somebody dies and they drop a relic, then you have to either be able to grab it from their corpse or you have to be able to run back. And at that point, you're kind of fucked anyways. Trying to think. The third room. I think the third room is the best part of that fight. The fourth room, as it gets to be, it feels a little linear. It feels like a little.
Yeah, I agree.
Things start to compile on, which is, I think, I don't get tired of Shirochi. By the end of exhibition, it's like, okay, let's
done.
get this over with.
Yep. Yeah.
And I feel the same with Vault too, but there's so much going on during exhibition that when you have a good team, it really feels like it feels like you're executing a game plan, right? It requires so much of you to do well, to even do baseline, and it's fun to do.
Yep.
I love that fight.
Big relay race. It's good.
Rulk.
There is one reason and one reason only this gets put in S tier. Because the boss fucking attacks you. For the love of God, it's a boss that fights back and moves, and DPS isn't static in a single spot, just fucking poking at somebody. The only fight that we have that in. Every other boss and every other thing stands still. Or, like, even Caretaker who moves, like, ever so slightly, right? That's, no. Rulk chases your ass.
I'm threatened perpetually by Rulk.
Yeah, he chases your ass.
I want to put this up to you. I want you to decide whether if it's S or A tier. You've already said S tier. Here's the thing that I think makes it A tier.
So the fight?
Pushing that barrier back.
Yeah, it's bad. The rest of the...
It's not great. It's not bad. It's not even boring. It's just like...
It's boring. It's okay. It's boring. It's boring for 4 out of the 6 people.
There's so much cool shit. It's the least interesting part of the fight, pushing that barrier back, right? And the fact that you really only need, you got 2 people, you need 3 people for that part, right? I would say that's also the one bad thing about Rulk is that you really only need 3 people doing mechanics.
Yeah.
Right. Because everyone else is just ad clear. That's why I would say it's A tier and not.
You know what? I actually think I'm gonna agree with you on A tier.
It's higher
because
than it's top of A tier.
Because Rulk is great. The boss is great. The encounter as a whole is average.
Yes.
Above average. A high average.
And he shit talks you the entire time. And he's been like building you up for it. And the boss arena is fucking cool. You're over this fucking the mother worm Jita and You're leveraging all the mechanics that you've done the entire time, and it feels like the proper culmination of what you've been doing, and you get to use his glaive. He drops his own glaive
Yeah.
as a weapon, like flavor wise. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I would
Um,
say accurate for that.
I just think that build up, that first part of the fight is just there needs to be something else there. That's
Yeah,
all that needs to happen. Fix that part of the encounter, and it is top of S tier.
I agree. Yeah.
All right, here's my shill time. All right, Scourge of the Past, Downtown,
B. Fun.
High B.
Yeah.
It's High B.
Yeah.
It's over dogs for me. It's
I would
it's
agree.
top. I think I won't say it's over.
I would agree.
Hard.
Yeah. It's fun. It's fun.
There's so much
There's
movement.
verticality. There's jobs for multiple people. You can use your sparrow, which is fucking love that.
Can you imagine? So that downtown is what I've been wanting from a Destiny destination forever.
Yeah.
Like free range movement the entire time. Can you imagine how fucking cool that fight would be with Strand now,
Yeah, dude. Oh man, it'd be a walk in the
my
park, but it would be
gosh!
fun. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! And being the person on the map. Oh, sorry, I'm putting this A tier. Sorry, I'm putting that over that too. Um, be being the map person, calling out shots, being like, no, you need to go here, this sector over here. Da, 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 da. Love that. I fucking love that
Agreed.
encounter.
Yeah.
Now, running the sparrow part.
I think. Yeah. You know what? Actually, I think A tier. Lowest of A tier.
Lowest of A tier.
And the reason I say that is because it is a jumping puzzle on a vehicle. You are threatened the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
It is really fun to fuck up your friends on purpose. And you get to immediately sacrifice somebody.
Oh, and on top of that, there is a way to end the fight normally, but if you risk it, you can go on and get more loot by taking the secret ending.
Right.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
dude.
I think it is a very fun I genuinely think that is one of the most fun encounters in Destiny.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. Insurrection Prime Phase 2. Or sorry, Phase 1.
Phase 1.
It's good. It's good.
It's okay. Yeah,
It's here-ish.
What do we have there? Crypt security. I put it below crypt security.
Right there.
Yeah.
It's fine. Being able to post up and make sure that the buildings are staying clear.
Yeah.
You've got that ring that's underneath, which is really neat. I really like that. The fact that you can use sparrows and you get to leverage the tanks, very cool. But the stakes of the fight are you're just kind of damaging the cradle of.
Yeah, you're just rolling around.
Shade.
Yeah, I would say
Eh,
it's okay. It's not great, but it's still fun. Again.
yeah. Phase 2, though.
I think middle of the pack A. Above Taniks. Actually, I would think above Consecrated.
Above Golgi.
Yeah, above Golgi. Yeah. Fun, very fun fight.
Here's what I love about the fight. I loved. There's so much I love about the fight. There's the person in the map room telling the people where they got to go and they got to kill the specific ads. And then you got to go and you got to dunk those things for the tank. I did feel like it was a little bit of a waste that you didn't get to go back down underneath. I felt like, oh, we're not going down that anymore.
Yeah.
But you got the CAP, right? You have to be on your game for not only what you're doing damage phase, but where you're doing damage phase from.
Yep.
Right. Because if things go right, then cool. You've got 2-3 spots you can do it. If things don't go right, then you've got to adapt to the right building.
Yep.
I loved the fact that you could just post yourself up on the top of a building and just like have Overwatch.
Yeah.
And
provide legitimate sniper cover.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
And on top of that, like my secret weapon during Insurrection that's when linears were at their best. That's when that's where Anarchy came from, dude. Anarchy. Uh, but
I will always love that fight because I got Anarchy my first time doing it, and Atlas
Oh,
didn't.
Atlas.
That was the first time I met him. That was the first time I met him, dude.
He didn't get it for so long. But my favorite, my secret strategy for Insurrection Prime was I stood up on the top of one of those buildings with Ariana's Vow, and that gun, because you're hitting his shield generators, didn't lose its bonus damage. So I was able to boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
take out all of those guys. Oh, and let's not forget about the fact this fight, maybe not this fight specifically. Oh yeah, it was this fight. No, it was this raid specifically. Introduced that fallen type raid to hit him in the chest and the
Yeah.
the back at the same time.
Yep.
We haven't seen them ever since. It's like,
Nope.
dude, come on, bring that shit back.
Caretaker was the only variation of that.
Yeah, you're right. And it was the first time we got to see a giant fucking fallen robot, right?
Yeah.
And you had to disrupt him during his phases, because otherwise he would charge up his instant nuke, which would
Right.
kill everybody. It was in the shadow of the Traveler in the middle of the city. It had this sort of like dirty warfare. Oh, dude, I fucking love that fight.
I would agree.
Only knocked down like
It's only below Galran because I think Galran's more difficult and more mechanic heavy.
Okay.
That's the only reason. Otherwise, I would put it higher. As a matter of fact, now that I think about it, I don't think Rolk deserves top A tier. I think it goes below Insurrection. Because the only good part about that is the boss.
I'm gonna do this though.
Okay, I'll take it.
I have more fun doing Insurrection Prime than I have playing Galran.
Agreed.
And on top of that, yeah, Galran has more mechanics, but Insurrection Prime has more modes of mechanics, like the Sparrow, the tank.
Yeah, that's true.
The shield generator, the stopping the white mechanic, the bad guys you got to shoot in the front and the chest and the back. The swapping of the polarities of your buffs so that everyone's in the same spot. I like.
Yeah.
There's very little stopping me from putting Insurrection in S tier. I don't know why I'm not putting him in S tier.
Throw it in S tier. You know what? Fuck it. I would say it's a fun. Yeah, I would agree. It's fun. I think that's one of the more important parts of it, right? As an encounter, it is just an enjoyable. That whole raid was fucking great.
And that raid was the perfect length, dude.
Yeah.
For like a mid-year raid, like you could get in and get Insurrection Prime and get good loot and have fun and fuck around with your buddies in an hour and a half. I've done that raid in.
We did 36 minutes. Yeah, 36.
Was that with that super boring group? Were you there with us?
That was the one that I did it flawless, but it didn't count because the whole fire team didn't do flawless.
That's ass.
Yeah. That was fun. Yeah, I enjoyed that.
I want them to bring it back so bad every year.
I want that, and I as low as the encounters might be on Leviathan, I still think as a whole that raid is one of my favorites.
Leviathan's such a great intro raid.
It's the perfect intro.
The only other without Leviathan, what's the intro raid?
Scourge.
I know. Oh, you say Scourge. I'm like that's currently in the game.
Oh, currently in the game?
I would say Deepstone.
Yeah, Deepstone. Yeah, that's the intro raid. The mechanics are easy.
Because I wouldn't start someone with Ron.
No. The mechanics are Ron is only difficult because of the jump puzzle. That's the only reason it's difficult.
Ron's nonsensical, and I think that's why I wouldn't do it.
It's also like with Deepstone, you can give somebody who's new the ability to run a mechanic, whereas Ron, and you can walk them through it right at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So you could literally have somebody come down into the basement of Crypt Security with you, and you can give them operator, and you can walk them to these spots and go, okay, you shoot this one, blah blah blah. You can't really. I mean, you could, I guess, theoretically do that with Ron, but like you can't at the same time because of the timing on it, right? It is more pressure as far as the timing goes, whereas in Deepstone it's very relaxed. Like you have huge windows to do things that you need to do.
I just posted the tier list to the lobby.
I'll stop the record.